Hi, my name is Chris Cox, and I'm the Minister to Youth and their Families at Woodmont. And I wanted to take a couple of minutes to chat with you about what we're going to discuss with your students at youth group this week. This week with Cairo, and last week with CYF, we're having a conversation about relationships, dating, and sex. Now, I want to make clear at the top, as I mentioned in the email yesterday, that this is not a sex talk, this is not a birds and the bees conversation. That's a conversation for you to have with your kids. And we would encourage you to have those conversations. Your children need to know that they can come to you with those kind of questions, and they encounter questions of sex and dating and all those kind of things a lot sooner than we often realize. But what we're talking about Sunday night is mainly about relationships. It's about how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to others, how we relate to God, and how that can impact questions of relationships and dating and sex on down the line. And we're going to be looking at 3 verses and 3 ideas that correspond with that. And so I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about. First, we're going to be talking about respecting ourselves, and we're going to look at Psalm 139, 13 through 18. And in that psalm, David writes beautifully about the fact that we are fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And we want your students to understand that they are complete and whole as they are. A lot of times, especially in middle school and high school, we feel like that we are not really whole until we are in a dating relationship. We have a boyfriend or girlfriend. Or maybe we feel like that we're not whole until we're part of this group or that group. And what we want your students to understand is that they can respect themselves, that they are intrinsically whole. They're intrinsically a beautiful creation of God, and they do not need to add anything or do anything to make them more loved by God or more valuable in the eyes of anybody. The second thing we're going to talk about is a Bible verse that if you've been to a wedding, you've heard before, and that's 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, where Paul talks about love. And we're going to talk about the fact that love, which there's a lot of different ideas about what love is in media and culture, but love is different than a lot of people think. We'll talk about the fact that love is patient, love is kind, that love is not self-seeking. A lot of times, especially in teenage relationships, not just romantic relationships, but friendships, love is sometimes a very selfish thing. People will say, if you really loved me, you would spend this amount of time with me, or you wouldn't be friends with that person, or something like that. And that's an enormous red flag, that love is not something that's selfish or something that's self-seeking. It doesn't make demands on people like that. And I think that's an important lesson, again, not just for dating relationships, but in all relationships in general. And finally, we're going to be talking about respecting others, because just as we're all creations of God, we need to realize that everyone else is a creation of God also. And so we're going to be looking at Matthew 5, 27 through 30. And that's a passage in which Jesus says that we're not supposed to lust after other people. And that's definitely a part of the puzzle. We shouldn't objectify people physically, but we objectify people in lots of different ways. We may objectify people for their social capital. We may objectify people for what we feel like they can give to us. But the idea is that we need to respect other people and not seek out our gratification, using other people as objects for our gratification, whether it be emotionally or relationally or whatever else. And so those are the 3 main ideas that we're going to talk about. And so I just want to give you a picture of what we're going to be discussing. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to email me at ccox@woodmontcc.org, or you can talk to me at any certain time. And also, if this is something you would be interested in us doing more often, these short videos in which we tell you about what we're talking about so that you can continue the conversation home, we would love to do that. And so please give me your feedback about that. I guess if this is a YouTube video, like the comments, and anyway, don't worry about that. But anyway, thank you for your time, and I hope that you have a great weekend.